All right, Shohei Ohtani chose the Dodgers. If you didn't know that, that happened over the course of the weekend, unfortunately, but it was so predictable. How long did we say that was going to happen? Weeks. So it was predictable, and we move on. And what does it mean for the Padres? Well, they've always had to deal with the Dodgers. It's never been easy. So it's not like it was going to be easy if they didn't land Shohei Ohtani. But now they do have Shohei Ohtani. So what are the Padres' next moves? Could it involve Jung Hoo Lee, the Korean superstar 25-year-old outfielder? We'll get into that here over the course of the hour. If you are here, subscribe. Year-round content for you. Live round replay if you are here. Please subscribe. We are here for baseball fans year-round. Smash the like button for us. You can follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. We appreciate the super chats. Click the $ below the chat box. That is a great way to support our work. If you'd like to support, if you want to make sure we get your comment, we'll get to every single super chat here tonight. Click the $ below the chat box. And also, if you want to become a member, get emojis and badges, click join down below. But, you know, it was a bombshell, but really was it? Maybe the dollar figure was, but the fact that he's going to the Dodgers is completely predictable. Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers. Padres had work to do regardless of the Ohtani news, and that continues as the offseason is underway for the Padres.
I said after Soto got traded, just anywhere but the Dodgers. And if if you're a Padres fan, like anywhere but the Dodgers and the Giants, if you're a Padres fan, right? Like I just don't want it to happen because, that feels like just another knock on, so far, pretty shitty offseason, right?
It's been terrible.
What
right?
positives can you take away from this offseason? And be real with yourselves, Padres fans. Like, be real, okay? I understand the why they traded Juan Soto and the flexibility of it. And Michael King could be good, and Drew Thorpe could be good, and they got a couple pitchers that they needed. But, like, the reality is this offseason so far has been absolute shit from every aspect, to losing Bob Melvin, to the unfortunate passing of Peter Seidler, to trading Juan Soto, to now Shohei Ohtani going to your division for the next 10 years. I could argue how Shohei Ohtani is now the most overpaid DH in the history of baseball, but he's also like one of the best hitters as well. He's not just he's like 280, 30 home. Like he's one of the best hitters in the entire sport. And when you pair him with Mookie, you pair him with Freddie Freeman, you're just like, fuck me, right?
I mean, dude, this guy a year ago was a 10, you heard me right, a 10 WAR player. Now he pitched, but his OPS was 1,066. His OPS plus was 184. Let me put that in perspective for you. So it's 84% better than the average hitter in the big leagues. Manny Machado's OPS plus last year was 115. He was 184. You're talking about 180 differences in the years they had. Machado last year, who had a down year, and Ohtani last year, who had as good of an offensive year as he's had. He's had a couple of years like that, but one of his better years in the big leagues. Now, to your point, 10 years, the money, who knows what he's going to look like from a pitching perspective moving forward. You won't see him on the mound in 2024. Are there questions there? Yeah, there are questions. But from a sheer lineup perspective, from the Dodgers perspective, I mean, you've just added as good of a hitter as there is in baseball. Yeah. And again, from a Padres perspective, you've been playing catch up to the Dodgers for, well, literally decades, but clearly here in the last decade in the regular season, you have not been anywhere near them. Now, 2 years ago was amazing in the postseason, what they did against the Dodgers. And that could absolutely, hopefully in the future, happen again. But it, like I said off the top, it's like you weren't really in a position, in my opinion, where you were vying with the Dodgers heading into 2024 as it was, right? I mean, that was a bit of a reach, right? To say that the Padres would catch the Dodgers in 2024, even if they didn't land Shohei Ohtani. But now you give them Ohtani and you're like, well, you got to kind of worry about your own house. You got to worry about making yourself better. And you've traded Soto. You've freed up money. You've hired a new manager. You've had ownership change, at the very least. And you've got some money to spend. There's been a lot of discussion around Jung Hoo Lee, including from Dennis Lin tonight in The Athletic. Of course, Jung Hoo Lee is nowhere near. I mean, you can't compare Jung Hoo Lee to Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, that's not fair to Jung Hoo Lee. So even if you land Jung Hoo Lee, you're not offsetting what the Dodgers have done this offseason. Let's be clear.
In talking about the division, like pretty much how the sport is now, the division does have its perks if you win it. But at the same time, we've seen the last 4 years in the National League, winning your division means absolute nothing.
100%.
I would like if the Padres, would actually win the division. Like it would be nice to see, especially if you're a Padres fan, the Padres be potentially one of the best teams, over the course of an entire regular season, right? And hopefully they could parlay that into a World Series run. But we know that it's bullshit. That making the postseason is the only thing that really matters nowadays. And maybe one day, if you win your division and you win 110 games and you get that first round bye, that team in the National League will actually go and win a World Series. But it's had not happened yet since the expansion of the postseason. So I'm definitely on the side of like, hey, if you want to go on 100 games again, 110 wins, like you can do it, right? And it's not for you guys at all. Like they keep doing the same thing. It's win a bunch of games, win the division, get the bye or the first, overall seed in the National League and choke. So if you want to keep doing that, then go do it. I'm not saying that adding Shohei Ohtani doesn't help them potentially get over that hump because it absolutely does. But I now it's I said this on Twitter the other day, it is now very easy to dislike Shohei Ohtani because he's a Dodger. I mean, it's plain and simple. Like you become a Dodger, you're automatically disliked. That's just how it works. I'm sorry.
Completely agree.
If you want to love on Shohei Ohtani, I consider that Dodger loving now. But
as you should. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, this is not that me personally, I haven't been enamored with him as an Angel, to be honest. I didn't see what the infatuation was from like a Padre perspective on Ohtani, other than the idea. I understand it. If you thought there was a chance that the Padres could have landed him. Did you see what Dennis wrote tonight? They didn't even make an offer.
Not surprising.
Because they weren't in a position to spend. Not that a lot of teams are. They weren't in a position to spend 500, let alone 700 on a play. I mean, who is in position to spend 700 on a player?
It's amazing to me because you said it, and it was reported on a lot throughout the first half of the season, and then it was also widely reported on last season how the Padres were going to be making a play for Shohei.
Like, it almost seems inevitable.
And you're like, dude, you're like 100% they're going to be in. You were going to see
them.
No,
I said 100% you would see people saying they're in because of Preller.
Oh, but they were never in.
And we knew that. I mean, dude, they traded Juan Soto. They lost their owner. They have debt issues. They took out $50 million from the bank in September. I mean, there were. I mean, if there were 30 teams vying for him, they would have finished in like close to 30th. Here.
This might be
don't have the resources.
This might be a stupid question, but knowing what Shohei got, knowing the number, would you want him for that much?
Yes, I would. Because I don't think, and I'll give you the reason why. Now, I wouldn't want him if my payroll was like 175 for 70, but I'd want him if I was the Dodgers because money's no option.
If you're the Padres, not the Dodgers.
Yeah, I still want him. I'd still want him. It's just like, did you want the Padres have all these bad deals as it is. That what's another one is the way I would look at it. The Bogarts deal's a bad deal. The Machado extension's a bad deal. The Cronenworth deal's a bad deal. The Darvish deal's a bad deal.
Look,
like if you're going to throw out among all bad deals, that's the best one you could possibly sign because the guy has been a complete wrecking ball in the big leagues.
Keyword has been. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, look, he got this contract based off. Like to me personally, if he got this, if he was still healthy, I think this is about right. Like 700 million, 70 million a year.
It's like 35 each side.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's when he is healthy, he is one of the best pitchers in the game. And he's already one of the best hitters in the game. So when healthy, yeah, it makes sense. But who even knows if he's going to be fully healthy again? That's my big thing here, is if he ends up never pitching like he has pitched the last 2 seasons when he was healthy, right? I'm sorry, but I don't want a guy making $70 million that just hits. That's just me.
I agree with you, but and let me just say this: I would just be surprised if in these conversations and in these like medicals, the Dodgers weren't convinced and weren't told that Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch.
Mhm.
I mean,
Now,
that's clearly been a part of the conversation. And even if he doesn't pitch in 2024, I mean, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani. Are you really betting against him? It's hard to bet against him. He's kind of made people like myself look stupid before. I mean, I'd be very surprised if this guy wasn't impactful on the mound again. I just would.
now I will say this: what the Dodgers did here, I don't know how they got away with this. Okay, I just don't. So it's not a actual number of 70 million a year, which if on just paper to the blind eye, right? 10 years, 700 million, like, oh shit, that's 70 million a year.
Yep.
It's really not, because for some reason, the Dodgers got to defer a shit ton of money to make this thing really wind up to be about 40 to 50 million a year for them on their books. And I think that's kind of bullshit. And I also think that the rhetoric going around from Major League Baseball reporters is also bullshit.
Yeah, it's
If you
good
want
for
to
the
like,
game.
if you want to get into that, I mean, like this whole notion, and I got a bunch of articles to back it up, of the second the Padres go out and sign like Tatis to a long-term deal and Manny to a long-term deal and spending all this money, it's just like, is this even sustainable? What the fuck are the Padres doing? And the second the Dodgers, who already spend almost more than any other team, go out and give the number one player out there, face of baseball right now, the largest contract in history, and it's good for baseball. Like, actually, it's not good for baseball. You are totally fucking probably what 28 other teams in your sport, because there's no way in hell those teams could ever have a chance to sign a player like that, because your stupid league doesn't have a salary cap. It doesn't have a cap on what players can make per year and what players can make per contract. You have fucked this sport by making it a 4-team league when it comes to paying for high priced players. It's not good for the sport. It's actually worse for the sport. It makes your sport suck, because
Well,
the
one
Royals
thing.
and the Pirates and the Marlins and all these teams that will never, ever, ever, ever spend $700 million on a player ever, they'll never have a chance to ever get that player.
Well, a lot of what you're saying is accurate. The one area where I'd push back is to blame baseball for a lack of salary cap. It's completely on the players. The only reason there's not a salary cap in baseball is because of the players union. They would never in a million years agree to a cap. That's been clear in CBA after CBA. This is what baseball as a sport prefers. The union and the commissioner's office, they want the rich to be rich. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. It's about New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Chicago. That's the way the sport is set up. And I agree with you. It's way different than the NFL, where you got teams in Cincinnati winning Super Bowls or getting in Super Bowls, or different than the NBA, where you can be whomever, the Milwaukee Bucks, and win a world title. And we've seen it in baseball. We've seen the Royals within the last 10 years.
Mhm.
You've seen the Padres get good, but it's set up for the top 5 to succeed and the bottom 25 to chase. But that's not solely because of the commissioner's office. There is
No,
no union head ever that is even allowed in a CBA discussion the idea of a cap to be put on the table in those discussions, because the players think it'll be used against them if
yeah.
there's a cap.
And I didn't blame Rob Manfred here. Like, this is me not like going on a rant about Rob Manfred. This is me going about just the entirety of baseball as a whole, from I mean every aspect, every angle, right? And the fact that, like, in basketball, right, when you draft, say, the Bucks drafted Giannis, he turns into an MVP. The way that it's structured in basketball is the Milwaukee Bucks, because they drafted him and he's on their team, can give him like
More money.
way more money than any other team if he goes to free agency. So that they give the smaller market teams a better chance of re-signing their players. Football, there's a cap. An NFL team's not going to spend $700 million total on one. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is making, I think, 500.
Yeah.
And that look what's happened to that team. They're not good right now because they've spent all this money on Patrick Mahomes.
Sure. Well, they won a Super Bowl last year with that same
But
money, right?
but also they have a salary cap, so they can't just go out and get like the best wide receiver to pair with Mahomes and the best running back and the best tight end. Like it all eventually evens out if you have the best of the best at every position, especially quarterback. Quarterback, the number one position. But in baseball, you can literally, if you're the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, and I mean, those three teams right there are the only teams I can think of. You can go out and you can literally get the best hitter, the best pitcher, the best shortstop, the best third baseman, the best catcher, the best reliever, all of it. And it doesn't matter. You just have to play. You just have to pay a CBT tax, and those teams are fine with it because they're rich as fuck.
True, but I mean, to be fair, and I agree with you, and now we're on the other side of the coin in San Diego, but isn't this what the Padres have tried to do over the
No,
last 3 or 4 years?
no. Yeah, they have done it,
You know what I
but
mean?
where my anger comes from, I loved when the Padres did it. I'm not saying that I hated it. It's that when the Padres did it, every single national media member was like, "What the fuck are they doing?" And the second that like the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers do something like that, it's praised as good for the sport.
Well, 100%, but here's the one issue. And I hate to say this, and I agree. I read Ken Rosenthal, "This is good for the game," a
Yeah,
column.
fuck
I'm like,
off,
"Get out of my
dude.
face." But I'll say this, those reporters are like, "I don't see how the Padres are gonna sustain this. What's this gonna look like in 3 years?" I'm like, "Screw you, who cares?" They were right. Everyone that said,
Unfortunately,
"What's this look like? Is this sustainable? How can you do it in San Diego?" They were all right. Now,
now
I don't know if they got lucky because they didn't win in 2023 and the Padres were way off base, and then they had the untimely passing of their owner, and that changed things with the Padres. But Kevin Acee was very close with Peter Seidler. We just had him on last week, and he said, regardless of Peter Seidler's health, the Padres were lowering payroll by $50+ million
I
in
know.
2024.
Now I do
You know,
the more time that passes and the more things that come out and all of this, I am starting to side on the fact that like all of these small market teams, they are mad. They were mad at the Padres because the
hmm
Padres made them all look like shit.
sure.
They all made them look bad, making them like if I'm a fan of the Royals, I'm like, hey, dude, my owner's a billionaire potential. I don't know if he's a billionaire or not, but like
Sure.
my owner's super rich. Why can't he go out and spend money like the Padres did? They're in a small market just like we are. Why can't you do this? What they're doing? And baseball owners got upset that the Padres were doing that because then it put all this pressure on the small market teams to spend money and it messed up everything. And so I do think there was a joint effort to make sure the Padres, in particular, were the team that, like, hey, nah, you guys can't do that. And then obviously the TV deal exploded, and then the passing of Peter Seidler ruined that because while I do think the money obviously would have gone down this offseason for the Padres, if Peter were here, you can't tell me Peter wouldn't have been like, yeah, I'm still going to spend money. Like, screw that.
I mean, I don't know. What about? I mean, they took out a $50 million loan. They asked for 100 when he was alive. So it's like this was an issue.
Yeah. I
This
know
was
it's
an
an issue,
issue,
but then
and I don't know, man. Maybe we'll never know. That's like
well,
how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
then
We
to
don't
me,
know.
if it still was an issue, which you're right, it was, then it's circling back around to like, hey, baseball, this is your system is effed up, dude. Like,
But doesn't it prove? I hate to say this. I'm just like to play the other side of it. Doesn't it kind of prove the small market owner's point, which is you can't do this because now you're going to be borrowing just to sustain this. You're
right.
literally borrowing tens of millions of dollars to sustain a roster because you have so much debt. So
No,
like the
it
reason
does.
that
Yeah.
others were saying that, well, hold on, let me talk. The reason that others were saying that was like factually like valid. Like the Padres could have gone 162-0 last year and won the World Series and lost money. That's what we read at ESPN.com. There was no path to them making money. So if they had to borrow because they were spending more than they were making, and that's against Major League Baseball's debt policy or whatever it is, then this was a complete one-off. What the Padres did. That's why the Pirates have never done it. It's why the Padres have never done it previously, because they tried to do something that literally is the only example in the history of the sport of a team in market 27 of spending top three are the Padres. And it sucks. I agree with you. You wish it was more even, but I also kind of enjoyed what they tried to do in 21, 22, 23, the way they spent. And now to be on the other side, it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of hard to complain about it on the other side from my perspective. It's like they did spend. And now,
No,
you know,
I love that they spend too. But all of that you just said is the reason why baseball is becoming dumber and dumber every single day. Because if a team wants to go out and spend money, John, okay, in a multi-billion-dollar, corporation and industry in baseball, like baseball's not broke, all right? Baseball is very profitable. It might not be as profitable as the NFL, but it's very profitable. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, an organization and league and whatever, right? So with that being said, if your small market team is always going to get effed every time they potentially spend a bunch of money, what does that say about your sport?
I mean, it
It
depends.
says your
I mean, I
sport
think
is
there's small.
flawed.
Well, I think there's teams in small markets that can be really successful. They just have to do it in different ways. Tampa,
I
perfect
no.
example. Oakland when they were good.
That's not what I'm saying.
Even Atlanta now doesn't spend like, the Padres.
I'm saying spend money as in go to like where the Padres were this year.
The reason, I mean, I don't, because we don't know what the books look like. Are you saying why doesn't every team spend $250 million because they're all making that kind of money? You know what I mean? Like, because whose money is it? It's the club's money, right? So it's not baseball's money. Like when Oakland spends, they're not getting it from baseball, right? They're just getting their local TV revenue. So they're spending based on what their earning power is. Like in the
Well, Oakland doesn't
NFL, the
want to
TV
spend.
money is in the NFL, the TV money is split. It's not in baseball. New York's
No,
200 million is only, 0 million right now in San Diego or whatever it is.
yeah, that's kind of like my whole point is like your sport is your team and not all, but most of their revenue that they generate in is from their individual like TV market and sponsorship deals.
Yep,
And it's
correct.
not a group thing like the NFL, like you just said, or I don't even know if the NBA's one.
NBA
I don't
splits
know.
TV revenue.
Okay. So baseball doesn't do that. And you're just screwing these other teams.
Well, it's because
I don't know. It's just,
there's no TV deal. Like the
I
national
know.
TV deal in baseball isn't worth anything. I mean, it is, but compared to the NFL, it's not worth anything. So of course, to bring it home, of course, Oakland's getting money from Major League Baseball in TV, but it's nowhere near. It's not what they would need to sustain a $200 million payroll, right? They're not getting $200 million in TV. Like in the NFL, you're covered. Your entire payroll is covered by television. They're not spending a dime. It's all covered by television. In baseball, that's not the case. And that's where the Padres have gotten in hot water without having a TV deal. Now, maybe that changes in the future. Who knows how much money they're going to get in TV, but not what they were getting a year ago. Let's get to some of these supers. JD's third, thank you. He says, safe to say AJ Tingler-Preller isn't excellence. This one is not really on Preller, is it? Ohtani to the
Ohtani?
Dodgers. Yeah.
No, it seems like Ohtani wanted the Dodgers all along. There was nothing
Definitely.
anybody could do to really change his mind. And what it sounds like too is that that him wanting to go to the Dodgers from the jump created potentially this Blue Jays narrative on Friday, was it? It was Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, Friday, to potentially increase the Dodgers offer, make them scared because there was no communication. Like, oh shit, maybe the Blue Jays are ahead of us. Like, we need to increase the offer. So there was two things here. One, Otani's desire was always to go to the Dodgers. I feel like you feel it too. It was a no-brainer.
Complete no-brainer.
As
All
dumb
the
as it
Dodgers
is,
moves last offseason were set up for this.
yeah, it's all set up for this. Otani can stay in LA, right? He still stays in one of the biggest markets, and he's not an idiot. But I do think that money was a thing here where he wanted to get the most, and if if by any chance, any way, the thing on Friday was a tactic to get an extra 100+ million from the Dodgers, I think it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, is that what happened? Did the Dodgers throw more money at him in the last 24
Yeah,
hours? Has that been
yeah,
reported?
because Tom Verducci wrote on Friday, reports broke that Otani's signing was imminent, and that he was headed to Toronto to sign with the Blue Jays. That report was completely erroneous. The Dodgers didn't know that. They held
Hmm.
meetings Friday night with an air of worry. The rumors were likely false, they decided, but they still created angst amongst LA executives. Quote, "You just
Interesting.
don't know," says one Dodger executive, and asked the Friday night meeting. Quote, "That's the best way to describe it. We just didn't know. It was not a comfortable feeling." So with that being said, you're kind of thinking to yourself,
Yeah. So
like,
John
there
Morosi's
had
tweet cost them $60 million, is what you're saying.
60 to 100 million
Yeah.
dollars probably, yeah.
Richard Flores, thank you, man, for the super. Guys, if you're here, subscribe here on content for you. Please subscribe if you're here. Smash the like button for us. And thank you for the supers. Click the $ below the chat box. Like Richard did. He says, Dodger fan here. Thank you, Richard, for supporting. He says, not here to take a victory lap. I feel that would be disrespectful to John and Jim, who have accepted me on a Padres channel. San Diego has talent. The NL West with the D-backs, San Diego and LA will be a either neat or meat grinder. What about San Francisco? They haven't spent a penny yet, but they will. Yeah, it's not gonna be easy. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. From the Padres' perspective, this thing will not be easy. I don't think it's impossible, but it's only getting more tricky when you consider the circumstances of your payroll, what the Dodgers are doing, where the Diamondbacks are, and what the Giants are trying to do. It's not going to be easy.
It isn't. And the Padres, like, without Juan Soto and Blake Snell and Josh Hader, I mean, they still have Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Sander Bogarts, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Hassan Kim. They have
Mhm.
talent. They have
Yeah.
big contracts. I saw this tweet the other day, or I think it was on Instagram. It was like a visual of like the top 10 contracts in baseball, and two of them were the Padres. So,
Hmm.
like, they still have two guys that have a $300 million deals in Tatis and Manny, and they have Xander at a $280 million deal. The question is, if they continue to lose with these contracts and they're not able to build cohesive rosters because of these contracts, it's going to turn into to some difficult situations for sure.
Do you think in 2027, like just let's throw a year out, 3 years from now, whatever, will Machado, Bogarts, and Tatis all be on the roster?
2027.
Like, so that's like the fourth season from now. So you would have like a what would the age of Machado and Bogarts be, like 34, 35, and then Tatis would be late 20s? I mean,
I mean,
maybe.
maybe. I mean, look, at that point in time, it's going to. I mean, it's going to be very hard to trade those guys, especially with no trades.
Yep.
And probably the only guy that will be tradable is Tatis. And you're I mean, you're doesn't seem like Manny's going anywhere. You're gonna have to like really convince Xander, like, bro, can you please waive this no trade? You know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. I mean, if they pulled off a World Series the next 4 years, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, if they do that, then I'm not concerned. But if they don't do that, is where I'm concerned. Steve, thank you. He says, we've returned to the big media markets, crushing the mid and small markets now that the RSNs have collapsed, regional sports networks. The game is BS now with no cure in sight. I mean, I would just say this also. I get it because we've all been on both sides now, especially in San Diego, where it's like, wow, it was great to spend, and now we're back to not spending potentially. They're still going to have a top 10, top 12 payroll potentially in 2024. And also, Arizona was in the World Series last year with payroll 24 ish.
Mhm.
Again, I'd rather spend. I've said it a million times. I'd rather spend, but there's not a guarantee that spending results in winning. I think it makes it easier, but you can still win without spending. That doesn't, that's not, again, I mean, the sport is the sport. We could argue why and how it's gotten like this, but there are teams in the bottom half of payroll this past year that were good, including Arizona and Baltimore.
Yeah, and that comes from drafting and developing well,
Sure. Yeah.
which are two of AJ's biggest problems. I mean, at the big league level, not in the minor league level. He's great at collecting talent, top prospects ranking wise, but developing that to the big league level has been his biggest problem. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do that and you mix it with the top big contracts, like then yeah, you can win, and that's how the teams that can't go out and spend $700 million on a player, they have to do, especially nowadays, with certain players only being tabbed to certain teams because those teams are the only teams that can pay them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was just looking something. Oh yeah, like last year, spot track team payrolls. Baltimore's 29th, 9 million more than Oakland in team payroll. Arizona was 21st in team payroll, 119 million. So, shoot, St. Louis last year was 17th in payroll. Now they sucked, but I mean, the St. Louis Cardinals were 17th in payroll. Milwaukee was 19th. Again, you'd prefer to be higher than lower, but the Mets, Yankees, and Padres are 1, 2, and 3, and they all missed the postseason. Number 4 was Texas. They won the World Series. It's like it's kind of
I just hate the
kind of
narrative
random.
that's good for the game. That's my
Yeah,
biggest
that's a
gripe.
dumb narrative. Yeah, that's a dumb narrative. I agree. But this is, Jim, you and I have, we've spent our lives watching baseball. And as you get older, you realize this is just, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Otani getting 700 million is no different than Pujols getting 300 or A-Rod getting 300 in the history of the game. It's all the same. A-Rod to New
Yeah.
York, Pujols to Anaheim, Shohei to LA. It goes on and on and on, the history of the sport. What was different was Machado to San Diego. That was different.
And
That was
Tatis
atypical.
Stain, 300 million.
Yeah,
Bogart to
those are
San
the
Diego.
atypical. Yeah, those are the rarities.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. I mean, there's always examples. There's stupid signings. There's Chris Bryant to the Rockies. There's Mad Bum to Arizona. That's just dumb signings. That's just wasting money. Um,
Yeah.
but the $300
It,
million deals are the rich teams.
but it also proves that the Rockies could hand out a $250 million contract. Like they can do it.
They were 14th in payroll last year. I'm at Spot Track, 171.
Yeah. So they can hand out a $250 million deal for like 10 years if they wanted.
Yeah. hmm And I guess they did, right? How big was the Bryant deal? Close to 200, right?
Maybe closer to 240. I don't really
Yeah, it was
know.
big,
It
big
was over
money.
200 for sure.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, no, most of these teams have, uh, I don't know, maybe half of them have had a $150 million deal, but half of them haven't. Remember the Dodgers before Betts? I don't think the Dodgers before Betts, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, had ever given out a $100 million deal in the history of the organization. And now they have Betts, Freeman, Otani all in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they had never given out. I mean, if they'd been 100, they'd never given out a $200 million deal.
They just gave us $700 million.
And they just did 700. And what did they pay Betts? 400?
300 plus?
And what did they pay Freeman?
Below 300.
Okay. But still, you add those up, you're at 1.3 billion.
How many teams, like in a hypothetical world, what would the like bottom payroll, what should the bottom payroll be? Like you have to spend as a baseball team this much money.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the middle of the pack right now is in that one. Okay, so the league average last year was 165. So
Okay.
maybe within 10% of that, maybe 10% lower than that.
So like
So 150.
50.
Yeah,
Every team
so
has to spend 150.
17 teams spent 150.
Yeah.
And 22 teams spent 100. And 8 teams did not spend 100.
Yeah. See, and it sucks now because I bet you those 8 teams, 6 of them are like constructed of a bunch of just minor league guys, like
Yeah, I mean, okay,
nobodies.
Oakland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tampa. That's the thing. Orioles and Rays are good. Cleveland, Washington, they went young. Royals, Reds. Reds
See,
are on the come.
if you're Tampa, Randy Arozarena should not be able to leave.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you should be able to give Randy Arozarena like a $200 million contract or whatever he's worth. Okay.
Mhm.
You know, same thing with like Glass now. He's a really
Yeah,
good pitcher,
I agree with you.
right? Like the Reds, who's De La Cruz? Like,
Yep, Ellie.
I mean, you should be able to keep these guys here. That's the biggest problem with the sport is like you get you have these players and the teams are not gonna lock them up to these huge contracts because they don't want to spend that much money. And then they get to free agency and they go to the top teams.
Man, that's such a we
Or
could have a whole wrap
they
up
have to be
show on it.
traded away. Or
Exactly. I mean, we could look at it this way. Remember, we spent so much time discussing it. The last CBA, the players wanted 5 years to free agency. And
yeah.
the owner's like, no chance in hell. Which is kind of to your point. To your point, you would think the longer time to free agency benefits the smaller teams.
But they
Like if
just
it's 6
trade
years,
away that
but they trade
player.
away
Like,
even at 3 years,
I mean,
like Soto.
Soto's gonna be on his fourth team next year
I
potentially.
know. And he
In
was
4
only
years.
He had 2.5 years of arbitration left.
Yeah, we haven't even like broke that down. How that's shitty for the sport.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's baseball. It's flawed. It is. It's different. It's certainly unique to the big four sports in America. Even soccer, it's unique. It is completely different. It's very much based on market. There's no question the Yankees' revenues don't compare to the Padres. Yes, network, gate, everything, marketing dollars in New York City, billboard
In LA.
signage at Los Angeles, it doesn't compare. And you're splitting a portion of revenue. I don't know what it is. I just read an article. Each team's getting 60 million in TV nationally, 60. Well, that ain't paying the bills if you're the Padres. You're trying to maintain a $260 million payroll.
Yeah.
With 60 million in TV, and plus whatever you get in your local rights. But now the Padres local rights, we don't even have any clue what they're getting. Potentially nothing.
But yeah. Yeah. But it's also funny too. Like, I saw a lot of this on Saturday. Like, oh my God, Shohei's going to the Dodgers. He's going to LA, the biggest market, like second biggest market in the country. Morons.
He's already there.
He was already there. Like,
Yeah, like if it had to do with market, it shouldn't change his marketing prowess. I mean, the Dodgers are a much bigger deal than the Angels. Like, I mean, you can't really compare the Dodgers to the Angels, can you?
Like I saw Colin. He put out like a list on Twitter of all the big stars in LA. And he added, like, he put Shohei in there, right? I'm like, hey, moron.
He was already there.
He was already in LA. Like, this list is not any different than it was yesterday when he was not a part of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
I agree. We'll get back to it in a moment. We do want to talk about Jung Hoo Lee, who the Padres are reportedly interested in, the Korean outfielder. What would it cost to get Jung Hoo Lee to San Diego? We'll get back to the comments in the chat in a moment. We do need to thank our title sponsor here on the wrap-up show, our good friend Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, who is a huge Padres fan. He's been texting me all weekend long about Padres free agency and about Shohei Ohtani as well. If you have any insurance need, Mark will save you money and time. He's a great insurance agent. You can take it from us. I've got a homeowner's, earthquake, and life insurance policy through Mark Nimitz. Just by switching your insurance, he can save you $750 or more. Before you renew your insurance, call Mark or click the link in the description down below to get to his website and get free quotes online, or call Mark. He will talk to you about the Padres. He will talk to you about how to save money. He's a great insurance agent with great service and communication. When I had a claim in here a year and a half ago, he took care of everything, saved us thousands of dollars and dozens of hours of time. So if you support this channel, please support a local San Diego business and a San Diegan lifelong Padres fan doing business in our community. Check him out, Mark Nimitz. Click the link in the description down below.
Yeah, all his information is above my head. Nimitz at farmersagent.com. When you reach out to our buddy Mark, let him know that John and Jeff, the wrap-up show, sent you.
So this is the fear, and Dennis wrote about this tonight in The Athletic. And Steve, thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate it. Guys, if you're here, subscribe. If you're here, thank you for the supers. Click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of them. He says Jung Hoo Lee is too much money even with $40 million available. So whatever the Padres have, if it's 30, if it's 40, whatever. So Dennis tonight is writing that with Scott Boras as Lee's representation, that the deal could reach as high as $90 million for 5 years, which is $18 million a year. I don't even know if that includes the posting fee, which is a tax of like 10 or 15%. Now you're pushing $100 million or $20 million a year. You've got $40 million to spend, and you're spending 20 of it on a AA outfielder. And by AA, I mean KBO. That's going to take time to develop, obviously, in the major leagues. Like, I'm in at 10, 12 a year. I'm out at 18, 20 a year is the way I look at it.
Yeah, no shot. No shot.
Right?
No shot. I already thought he is a risky signing in the first place for 10, 12, 15, whatever million a year. just because they can't. They need to get going here. Like Xander, Manny, those guys, they're still in an age where I think they can produce. Xander, I don't know. Manny, I do believe he can still put up MVP type numbers, right? So you got to get going. You can't wait for like 2 years down the road. All right, you just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think Jung Hoo Lee's an intriguing player for sure. The things that he's done in Korea, the numbers he's put up, his advanced analytics they're all interesting, and he fills a need for your team in the outfield. But I just don't know if I can risk it at this moment in time, knowing that like they have to win right now, especially Preller, because his job is if it's not on the line right now, I mean it's pretty close, right?
100%.
So to me, when you see a number like that from Dennis, like a 5 for 90, I'm out. Sorry, I'm out.
I mean, guys, he hit 6 home runs last year.
Yeah.
Now
No,
he was
I'm
hurt,
out.
and he struggled in the first half of the year reportedly because he was switching his, approach because of his, upcoming conversion to the major leagues, and then talking with his best friend, Hassan Kam. They were former teammates. They're close friends. That could be advantageous for the Padres. We'll see. At the end of the day, he had 6 home runs last year. There's a quote here in Dennis's article, which kind of made me laugh because I'm like, well, what's the point here? The quote is this: if Jung Hoo ends up in San Diego, Daniel Kim said, whoever Daniel Kim is, the San Diego Padres are pretty much the Korean national team. And
2 players?
okay, and is that a good thing? It's not, you know what I mean? Like that's great. I'm sure I think they were talking about it from a marketing prowess. Obviously, you can't compare Otani to Kim and Lee, but how the Padres would be, extremely relevant in the nation of Korea. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's fine. This goes back to my point from a year ago. Padres are marketed beautifully. They sell tickets. They're the talk of the town. They resonate. They're interesting in San Diego and elsewhere, Mexico, maybe overseas, Pacific Rim. I'm not really overly concerned with how they market in Korea. I'm not overly concerned with them bringing in another 2.9 million based on Korean marketing. I mean, that's great, but they got to win. I don't really care if they're resonating with the Korean fan base for the opening series in Seoul, March 20th and 21st. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is to win.
Yeah, well, the opening series in Korea next year is going to be very fascinating.
Yeah, I think they'll be a little more interested in Otani, to be honest, than I guess there'll be a lot of interest in Kim. And if Lee's there too, I mean, that's crazy to have Otani, potentially Kim, Lee, all in Korea, in Asia, opening up the season. I mean, the Otani thing is just going to be absolutely bonkers. And it's crazy, the opener. The Padres have the Dodgers with Otani, and then the Giants with Melvin, at least, if not more, when they come home.
And to the Giants' point, because we titled this video like "Where do the Padres go next?" I think, or like "What do the Padres do next?"
Yeah, did that? I don't even know. Something about Jung Hoo Lee.
I think I put like with Otani. I don't know what I put on the thing on the picture. What did I put? Oh yeah, what's next for San Diego?
Okay,
and that also is now going to what's next for everyone else too, in the division especially. You don't think the Giants are sitting there fuming that they didn't even get close to Otani?
I agree.
And that they have potentially all this money to spend, and like that's another thing that could be turn into a backfire if you're a Padres fan. That the Giants missing out on Otani big time could turn into them making some maybe potentially irrational moves, but in the short term, I mean, if they got like a Bellinger and a Yamamoto,
yeah, it's a problem.
Or a Bellinger and a Snell. I mean, those contracts down the road would probably look really bad, but just for next year alone, like those are 2 players I think that can potentially be impact players next year.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. Like, you're thinking about the Dodgers from a Padres perspective, but whenever you talk about the Dodgers, you have to think about it from a Giants perspective.
Because they're under a lot of pressure up there. A lot of pressure.
And they haven't landed players via free agency. The last time they won big, and then they lost the Dodgers in the postseason when they won 107 games. But the last couple of years have been disappointing. For whatever reason, they cannot land free agents, or have not the last 2 offseasons. They absolutely have to your point. That doesn't correlate always with winning, but they could make a splash. They could win an offseason move here, whether it's Yamamoto, Snell, or Bellinger, or whomever.
Or all three. Who
Or all,
knows?
I mean, that would be unbelievable. Even two of them would be unbelievable.
I saw something today that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, all making for their total contracts under $700 million. If you're this team,
okay,
all right, ready for this? This is
Mhm.
is fascinating. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Guess the team. It's gonna be very easy for you. Michael Harris, Sean Murphy, Spencer Strider,
Yeah,
Ronald
of course.
Acuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, all of their deals.
What team would that be?
Yeah. All of those deals combined
Under
equals $700 million. All of their combined deals equals what Otani's making.
Normally I'd get caught up in that like semantics. Again, if it was football, you'd be like, how could you spend it that way? Or if it was basketball, how can you spend it that way? But in baseball, if it's no sweat off the Dodgers' back, then it's no sweat off their back. Now, I don't know if it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it impacts them long term. It could.
It's going to cost them, but like they're going
to market the hell out of this guy. I mean, what I think someone
They
said
own
that he was
Japan
worth
now.
40. He was worth $40 million a year to the Angels in marketing. Well, he's going to be worth more to the Dodgers just because of the Dodgers. There's a premium on the franchise. So if he's worth $50 million a year in marketing and you're paying him 70, that to me is a win. If you're getting $50 million back in marketing, plus you have Shohei Ohtani, it seems like a lot of money. It's crazy money. When I saw the number, I'm like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah. First off,
and
looking at these deals from the Braves, how the hell did they sign Acuna for 8 for 100?
It's when he was still at the beat before arbitration, maybe.
And that to me also makes the Tatis deal be like
worse.
What are we doing?
Right. Like, wait, how do you get Acuna for 80 but Tatis for 340? Like, couldn't you gotten him for like 125 based on the Acuna deal?
You could have signed him for like 10 for 240 or something.
Yeah,
or
it seems
200.
like that. It's a good point.
It's just it doesn't.
Yeah, did you need to go 14 years? Could we go on 7? Like the 7 for 100, not 14?
Yeah. 14 for 340 and no trade opt outs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Lyle, thank you, man. Appreciate your super chat. Guys, if you're here, subscribe here on content for you. Smash the like button for us. And again, you can follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Thank you for the supers. Great way to support our channel. Click the $sign below the chat box, like Lyle, who says, hey, guys, love the show. What are the chances the Padres use some of the open money to secure Ha-Seong Kim for the future? It would be tempting. I just don't know if they can go down that path, considering what they have to do, which is rotation, bullpen, bench, potentially first base, and 2 outfielders. So, I'd be tempted, but I don't know if they can do it.
And the second they signed Ha-Seong Kim to like a 5-year deal, he would immediately go back to sucking.
Right, exactly.
Just it maybe wait it out a little bit. Like that what they didn't do with Cronenworth when they didn't have to do with Cronenworth at all. Now, the difference between Cronenworth and Kim is Cronenworth had arbitration years left. Kim obviously would be a free agent after this upcoming season.
Right.
But we've heard from people that are like $150 million on the open market, Dansby Swanson type of deal for Ha-Seong Kim. Yeah. If he puts together another season like he did last season, this upcoming year. I mean, if you can try to get him on a really good deal, yeah. But as you said, John, like this team has a lot more concerns right now than trying to lock up Ha-Seong Kim for the future to win this upcoming season.
And unfortunately, the Acuna deal's out the window. I mean, if someone told me right now, like 6 for 60, sure, of course, but he's not going to get that deal. I don't think.
8 for 100.
Yeah,
he fired his agent, right? Like he had to have fired his agent. Like no, Ronald Acuna. Like he had to have fired his agent, right?
I don't know, man. That's a great question. He should have.
I would have fired him the second. I mean, I'm like the second after I figure out, like, wait a second here. What? And he's a multiple-time All-Star. He's, one of the best players in the game. Just won an MVP. Had a season that, just you don't know if you're going to see again.
40 and 60. Complete. Yeah, like I'm like sitting out on that deal.
70. What he had stolen bases. How many stolen bases he had this year?
70 plus.
It's 40-70 season.
Yeah, like I got a clause in my deal. If I win the MVP, my contract's ripped up. I'm
Right.
starting over.
I want another 300 million added.
How is he getting 80 when other guys are getting 600? I mean,
No,
he
he's
should
getting
be getting
100.
300. Okay,
Eight for
well,
eight for
whatever.
100, but
Well, he
still,
should be
it's
getting 3
ridiculous.
times that.
I know.
Run it back. Thank you, man. He says HSK was good for 1 month and 3 years. No bueno. No, he wasn't, man. Come on.
He was
That's not
good
true. He was
last
good
year.
last year. He was good for at least 2/3 of last year, and he was good for half of the year before. And I'm talking about offensively. Defensively,
Yeah.
he's been at a premium. Now, again, I'm not spending $200 million for defense either. But no, offensively, he has definitely improved. And you could argue maybe he could still continue to improve. We'll see what happens in 2024.
I would
But
say that for about 2 to 3 months last year,
he was like
he was
carrying
the
them.
he was the best player at his position in all of baseball. Like,
Best
I'll argue
player at
that.
his position. Best player.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Best player at his position. You're saying like position by position, you would take him at his position over other players at other positions?
No, like second baseman in all of
Oh, best.
baseball.
Okay, best second. Okay, yeah, I'm sure
Second
he was.
baseman.
I thought you were saying like pound for pound, like oh, he was the best
No,
second baseman, or he like I don't know.
no. Like for a 2 to 3 month stretch last year, and definitely in I think July or maybe June. I forget which month. I would definitely argue he was the best player at his position in all of baseball.
He was good.
Like all around game from hitting,
Yeah, defense.
defensively,
Yep.
running the bases, stealing bases. At one point, I think I tweeted out like, "Dude, is Hassan going to have like a 25-25 season?"
I mean, I think he finished like top 10 in offensive WAR, didn't he? Or just WAR in general because of his
Just more
defense.
in general. He
Yeah,
had 17 home runs and close to 30 stolen bases last year.
yeah. It was a very nice for a second baseman. Yeah, it's a really nice year.
So, yeah, he was way better than no bueno running back.
Now, I agree with running back though in terms of I don't agree with the 1 month and 3 years, but I kind of agree with the I'm not paying him 150 because I'm not.
I'm not either.
Like, sorry.
No.
Maybe if someone else will, good for him. But maybe it's somewhere in between. Maybe it's more like
Yeah.
75 to 100, which is still a lot of money for the Padres. At this point, I think that's a lot of money for the Padres. We're going to get back to this in a moment. Do want to thank our sponsor here on the wrap-up show, our friends over at Ora.Organic. This is a great, great company. If you're looking to get healthier in 2024, it should start with Ora. Their co-founder, Will, is a huge Padres fan, a longtime supporter of this channel. They have all plant-based nutritional products. I've been taking their probiotic for about 2 years at this point, every single day. It's an amazing probiotic. It's great for digestion, heart health, mental health, and much, much more. If you're not taking a probiotic, you should be. They have proteins. They have pre-workout supplements. They have omega-3 oils. If you're taking a fish oil right now, you can take their omega-3 oil. A lot of men are taking fish oil. They have sleep pills, immunity pills, and more. So if you're looking for a way to get healthier, if you're looking for plant-based supplements, the healthiest on the market, check them out, ora.organic, or click that link in the description down below.
Yeah, go there right now, www.ora.organic. Everything you need to live a healthy lifestyle. It'd make great for a present for Christmas for somebody that is
Yeah.
into health or someone, a family member that wants to, you know, get healthy and they've been talking about supplements, but they don't know where to go. Also, New Year's coming up, a lot of New Year's resolutions out there. And it's the number one is always getting healthier and working out and getting in shape. So Aura is the place to go for you. www.ora.organic. Hit it up. Try some supplements out, try some things out, and get back to us. You'll thank us later.
You will. And great point with the new year coming. Everyone wants to get healthier for the new year. This is something. Did you see this in The Athletic from Dennis, where he had like executives saying that they wouldn't rule out Ethan Salas being up by the end of 2024, just like they had talked about Drew Thorpe. The expectation was at some point he would make his major league debut in 2024. But then again, Thorpe isn't a teenager, and Salas is still what, 17? Is he 17? I think so.
I think so.
So, I mean, he's not going to be. I would say this. I'd love to see it. Honestly, if he was up in September, that's great. But he's obviously not going to be impactful for the Padres in 2024, no matter what happens. Even if he makes his debut, that's an amazing accomplishment if he somehow did that. But he will have no impact on the Padres till at least 2025. We can all agree on that, right?
I am firm on the stance of Absolutely not.
Yeah, don't even do it.
Because what is one of the problems with Preller at times, and a lot of times
Rushing.
with prospects, he rushes them for no reason
Mm-hmm.
other than like there might be a need and this guy's a high rated prospect, so they just put him in the big leagues. Like, dude is
Mm-hmm.
not ready. I don't care if he's balling in the minors. Give him the proper time to develop. If it takes him 3 years, like let him take time. Let him have full seasons like without moving anywhere. Like let him get comfortable and go through the progression. Let him make mistakes. Because if the first time he starts making mistakes at the big league level, that's a really good way to lose a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I am steadfast in not bringing him up at all next year. I don't care. Like, no, just let him sit and develop. He's still 17 years old. I mean, come on, give me a break. And we know with catchers, it takes a
forever.
while. It takes a while. I don't care how
forever.
great he is in the minors. Like to me, it's like, yo, you're not coming up until you're at least 21. Like that's just, I don't care. But knowing Preller, he'll probably have him on the opening day roster.
Yeah, he'll probably do it to like prove a point. Here's the thing: if he came up in September, for example, he'd be 18, which isn't unheard of. It's extremely rare, especially for a catcher. He's turning 18 June 1st, so he'll start next year as a 17-year-old. I agree completely with what you said. I am not putting him on the big league roster in 2024. I don't care what he does.
Yeah, no.
2025 is another conversation. I'm happy to have it, but in 2024, he should be developed. And he is not a player you're counting on in 2024 to impact you in any way. Luis Campusano is your catcher.
Mm-hmm.
You just spent multiple millions with the Yankees in acquiring a catcher. There's Gary Sanchez discussion, DH catcher. There's no need to ask anything of Ethan Salas in 2024. It just why, and also the whole start clock thing. Why would you do that? Why would you start his 6-year run to free agency?
Boom. There it is right there, John. That's the point.
I mean, it doesn't, and that's why you have to be careful in 2025.
Preller like the Tatis thing, it was ridiculous, right? Like, what are we doing? And now I personally liked it, right? But like a lot of baseball, smart-minded people were like, "What are you doing?"
Team's not ready. He's not ready. Now he had a nice little year before he got hurt.
Yeah, so don't make the same mistake with Ethan Salas if you truly believe that he's going to be the next it thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Murray, thank you for the super chat. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Please subscribe. Thank you for the supers. Click the $ below the chat box. He says he's done with these ridiculous contracts. No human is worth that much money when hardworking people don't make near that much. Sorry, guys, if you disagree. I mean, on its face, of course, Murray. I mean, and does Brad Pitt deserve $30 or $40 million for starring in a movie? And, me, Jim, I have no clue. But people make tens of millions in movies. They make hundreds of millions in entertainment. There are boxers that make 50 million in a fight or more. UFC, same thing. Listen, I'm with you. Should school teachers and firefighters and police officers be earning more than others? There's no question about it. But this is the world we live in. This is the market. And this is sports. This is professional sports. And professional sports, there's terms that apply and they get compensated. I mean, what else can I say about it? Of course, nobody deserves or earns $700 million. But if someone's willing to pay it to you, who's going to say no to it?
Right. And these organizations and teams and companies and whatever, it's an investment to make more money. Like just like all of a sudden the Dodgers are like, if the Dodgers paid $700 million to get Otani,
they'll make it,
and they stop making money, then yeah, you're really stupid.
Yep.
But the investment they're going to get, that $700 million will probably turn into like a couple billion.
Probably.
Easily.
I mean, 70 million sounds crazy. Don't get me wrong. 70 million a year is crazy, but it's Los Angeles, California, and he's marketed throughout the nation of Japan. And he's as recognizable of a baseball player as there is in the world. He can be marketed, is my point, from a team perspective. They're going to create tens of millions of dollars in revenue related to Shohei Ohtani.
Like the Dodgers just got all of Japan. They still own the LA market over the
A
Angels.
huge part of Southern California in general.
And Shohei is going to be, I mean, it's what Adam says in the chat. It's capitalism, dude. It's
Yeah,
pure
it is.
capitalism.
It is. And also a market without a cap. I mean, without a cap, then you're opening yourself up to the possibility of guys making a lot of money. Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani. Of course,
Yep.
it's crazy that he's making $70 million. He'll have teammates on rookie deals making $600K. But I mean, then again, we work for a publicly traded company. I'm sure there's people that make a lot more than us, within the company. That's business.
Like every meal's on Otani, right?
It should be. He's buying every post-game spread. Like he should be paying all dues for the entire team.
Oh man, I know. Yeah, the
Imagine if he has to rehab
awesome.
at some point, like in Double A, and the guy's like making like $700 million. He's in like Double A. Like he should be buying the spreads in Double A. Michael, thank you, man, for the super chat. He says, I don't see guys like Iriarty, Major, Marcy, Paulie breaking opening day 2024 roster. Maybe September call-ups or mid-season, only if team is failing. Well, Preller said the day of the Soto trade when he spoke with the media, Marcy would get a chance in center field in spring training to earn a job. I think they're very hell-bent on trying to have their system pay dividends as quickly as possible. Now, to your point, Michael, I don't know if it's day one, like March 20th stuff, but I think you're going to have guys well before September that are rookies on the Padres that are quote-unquote prospects, because that's how they're going to make the books work, balance this thing.
To me, it when I hear the word rushing, like I get like hives, like chill. Like it's just, I've seen players in this organization get rushed when they're not ready. Luis Urias is a perfect example. Okay. He got rushed to the big league level and he couldn't hit, and it was a disaster. These pitchers got rushed to the big league level. They didn't have time to develop properly. So when I see potentially, reports of like these prospects are probably going to be on this big league roster this year at some point, I'm thinking, I'm just like, that worries me. It just worries me because the track record is not there for developing at all. So I get worried because I would like that if these prospects would turn into something, because then it would make this team better and it would help for the long term if some of these guys actually hit, but the way that this team and organization has been run the last decade, it's never happened at a consistent rate.
I agree with you. No, that's a good point. I completely agree. Run it back. Thank you for the super. He says, convert Merrill Kelly. Jackson Merrill? Jackson Merrill, I'm assuming.
I think Jackson Merrill, because Merrill Kelly's
Merrill Kelly's, I'm going to assume, run it back, correct us if we're wrong, convert Jackson Merrill to first or trade him, ? He is not a power hitter. And maybe he's going to develop into that, Jim. Like I'm looking, he is 20, so he's a pup. So he's got a lot of time to develop still, even in the big leagues. But, in 200 career games, he's hit 20 home runs. That's not a power hitter. Now he's young. Yeah. It's not the number one indicator of an 18 or 19-year-old. They can develop power much later than that, but that doesn't scream first base to me. Do I want a 21-year-old first baseman or 22-year-old first baseman in the big leagues that didn't hit for power in the minor leagues? Probably not.
No. To me, it feels like that's Ha-Seong Kim's potential replacement down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. That's definitely a possibility. I would agree with that. Steve, thank you. He says 24 is a rebuilding year despite what Preller spins. We'll see. We might say that at the end of the year. We may or we may not, but it is possible. It is. I hope not.
But
I don't think that's really thrilling.
Isn't it hard to say that it was a rebuilding year when you have the players you have on this roster?
Probably, yeah. Are you going to just say it because you win 77 games? You're like, look, we developed Iriarty and Marcy.
Now, if all those dudes get hurt or they all suck, then yeah, you could be like, yeah, it turned into a developmental year. But like from the jump, the first day of spring training,
you better be planning to make the postseason.
Yeah, when you see Manny walk through that door, you see Toddy walk through that door. When you see Joe, Darvish, Kim, like They're not.
Yeah.
They're not sitting there saying rebuild.
No, it's more like get to the postseason or it's a failure. Again, I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's just how it should probably be perceived. I know the payroll's coming down, but you have Manny Machado, guy's a future Hall of Famer. Shouldn't be
Right.
rebuilding with future Hall of Famers. That doesn't make
No.
sense.
No.
Matthew, thank you. He says, "Do you think we get more for Soto after Show's deal?" That's an interesting question. So if Otani would have signed, for example, on Monday and Soto was still available, would that have resulted in a better return for the Padres? If Otani would have gone to the Dodgers on Monday and the Padres still had Soto on Tuesday, could they've gotten a better return for him? I wouldn't think so. My guess is no.
Would that have created a bidding war between the Blue Jays and the Yankees?
Maybe. Because the Blue Jays apparently were seriously in on him.
Yeah. 11 different teams called in on Soto.
Right.
I mean, maybe probably.
Yeah, it's possible.
But
could you have waited?
Could you have waited?
I don't know. Yeah, it happened pretty quick. 48 hours later, maybe.
I mean, maybe. I mean, the deal that they got from the Yankees, to me, on the surface, on paper, it feels very meh, honestly, until I see it pan out.
It's like a need-based deal. And we need pitching, so that's who we traded for.
But if you told me take away 2 of the pitchers, right? Take away like Vasquez and Brito, and then you added like Dominguez. Or if you take away 3 pitchers and just had King, Dominguez, and Higgy.
Yeah, I'd probably be pumped about Dominguez.
I'd be way more excited for that deal than the deal that they got. And look, the deal could turn out to be really good. Those pitchers could actually play a role next year. I don't know. They got 4 guys that are going to be in the big leagues roster. But, I mean, on paper, it feels very meh.
It's like, okay, listen, my Jetta is a very good Jetta. But do you want a Jetta or do you want a sports car? You know, like, do you want something with some, like, excitement to it?
Yeah. Or, like, you want a Tesla over your Jetta?
Yeah, like, it just feels like Dominguez had that, like, Tesla in him, like some excitement. The Jetta's great. I think they got a lot of, like, good cars. Yeah. I don't know if they got that, like, flashy sports car.
And I know Dominguez is hurt. But that should have been.
Yeah, but he's 20.
That should have been a thing where, like, hey, he's hurt, so like, come on, what the fuck?
Give him to us.
Yeah, give me now.
Yeah, because he's hurt. James, thank you, man. Appreciate your super. He says, "How about converting Cronenworth to a pitcher again?" Not happening. It's probably facetious, but
if they actually did that, dude,
can you imagine? He's starting like he's your number 4 starter because he's getting paid like it.
Fire everybody
because he's getting paid like it. I mean, that would be
80 million.
Really Cronenworth is your number 5 starter, and your first baseman is whom?
Me.
It's Jackson Merrill, opening day.
Merrill Kelly.
Oh, by the way, Dennis put today, and we'll get back to the supers in a moment. If you want to support, click the $ below the chat box. Dennis reported today that Jung Hoo Lee has until January 3rd to accept a deal in the major league. So he's down to, that's 3 weeks. He has 3 weeks to accept a deal. So this could happen pretty quickly. It will happen, I would think, by Christmas, the way Major League Baseball works. I would think it happens in the next 2 weeks. So I think you'll know on Jung Hoo Lee sooner rather than later. And then things get quiet. You know, what's that?
The two big dominoes fell, Soto and Otani. So
yeah,
now you would think that
Snell, Bellinger.
Dude, I haven't seen one rumor on Blake Snell. Not one.
Because he's like hanging out.
Okay.
On like whatever it's called, Twitch, which we like use to stream the wrap-up show, yet I've never once like figured out how to use it. But I think we're on Twitch right now.
Cy Young Award winner, not one rumor for any team. I mean, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen one rumor.
If you just Google him right now, does anything come up? Blake Snell.
Let me check.
It's got to be something.
On Twitter?
I'm going to say like Mariners or Giants. It won't be like, Mariners or Giants is my guess. Yeah, just type in like Blake Snell free agent and see what happens.
On just like,
or like Google News here. Let's see, Blake Snell news. What's next for the Dodgers? Blake Snell among targets. That's Sporting News.
What day though?
This would be 15 hours ago. After signing Shohei Ohtani, what's next? Corbin Burns or Blake Snell among top targets. And then there is reigning Cy Young winner is reportedly on Boston Red Sox radar from Sports Illustrated one day ago. Blake Snell.
Okay, well, those are the first rumors I've seen of Blake Snell. Anytime,
Yeah,
any type of little
it's
nugget.
not a ton. Yeah, it's not a ton. It's really not. It is weird. It is a little weird. Snell to the Dodgers, give me a break.
I mean, if you're a Padres fan, just like,
Oh my gosh, this thing could get worse. That's
'cause
hard to imagine.
because the Blake Snell that you saw last year, the Dodgers would unlock like him to be even better.
He'd be going like 9 innings.
He'd be going like 7 innings, John.
It should be like a record 7. Be like, wow, that's like unheard of.
Whoa.
Well, the way he's going to walk people next year is he's just going to intentionally do it. They're just going to be like, put that guy on. You're going to walk him anyway, so just put him on. So we're going to save your pitch count. That's how you're going to go 7 innings.
Or he goes to the Dodgers and walks only 40 guys next year, and it's like has like an ERA of less than 0.
210 innings, 29 walks.
You're like, what the F? He's
right.
like four complete games.
Wins a Cy Young for a third team. Steve, thank you for the super. He says, what do we call rebuilding most of the rotation, the pen, and replacing Soto, Grisham, DH, and first base? Are you trying to say rebuild?
No, you're not calling. That's not a rebuild. That's like a retool.
Well, Grisham, who cares? DH, who really cares?
Going through a rebuild is you wipe the slate clean. This is not a wipe the slate clean at all.
Correct.
Is this Why not?
Because to your point, I would literally fire everyone. If all of a sudden in like 2026 we look up Jim and Jake Cronenworth is throwing like 88 innings out of the bullpen,
I would lose my mind.
It's got like a 4.99 ERA. I'd be like, that's kind of impressive.
Not bad.
Gosh,
it's like 60 strikeouts and 88 innings with like 12 walks.
Is anyone
not bad
for the chat? Is anyone serious that they think Jake Cronenworth could pitch in the big leagues and that would rectify anything with the Padres? If you actually feel that way, please put it in the chat. And while you do that, we do want to remind you about one of our partners here on the Wrap Up Show. The best and easiest place to play fantasy sports is at Underdog Fantasy. You can scan that QR code on the screen right now, and you can get to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. If you use promo code PODSWRAP, that is PADSWRAP, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100, and you don't have to deposit $100. You can deposit $10 or more. They'll match it. 10 becomes 20, 20 becomes 40, and so on and so forth. Best and easiest place to play. You can draft or have them auto draft for you. There are no waivers. There are no trades. They set your lineup. Set it and forget it. And with the pick'ems, it's so simple. Simple higher or lower contesting across all sports, including Major League Baseball during the season, NFL, NBA, higher or lower. Patrick Mahomes higher than 299.5 passing yards. Josh Allen higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns, and so on and so forth across all sports. So simple, so easy, so fun. Use promo code PODSWRAP, PADSWRAP, and get that 100% deposit match up to $100. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. All right. What do we have tomorrow? Chelsea Janes, Washington Post, great national baseball reporter, will join us tomorrow on John and Jim. So find John and Jim on YouTube by searching for John and Jim 760. Mm-hmm. And please subscribe to that channel as well. We are live weekdays from 3 to 6 Pacific. And Chelsea Janes, great baseball reporter. Her thoughts on Otani, Soto, Snell.
I want to ask about Snell. Like, has Blake Snell gotten any traction here? Like, is there anything happening with Blake Snell? Maybe with Josh Hader. I know Josh Hader's linked to a couple teams, but and I understand with Josh Hader. Blake Snell is top pitcher on the market. Just want a Cy Young.
Like, where's this Yamamoto gonna end up? Where's Jung Hoo Lee gonna end up?
Like, do people view Yamamoto as better than Blake Snell? Probably, and it's understandable, and I totally understand why.
Yeah, I think he may set the market. James wants us to bring up Cronenworth on the radio tomorrow.
No.
We'll bring that up with Chelsea James. Hey, Chelsea, glad you could hop on. Before we get to Soto and Otani, what do you think about converting Jake Cronenworth, Padres first baseman?
Should be like,
is that a good idea?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, guys. If you are here, live or on replay, please subscribe. You're on content for Padres fans, for baseball fans. Please subscribe if you are here. Please smash the like button for us. Please follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. If you're watching on replay, we appreciate the super thanks. We really do. We appreciate everyone's support of the channel. And thank you for your memberships as well. For those that have clicked join, you get those emojis and badges. Support our partners, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. He's our title sponsor, has been since day one. If you have an insurance need, before you renew anything, get in contact with Mark. He will save you money on your insurance. Aura, the best and easiest place to get healthier. ORA.organic. Get healthier for the new year. And Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code PADSWRAP, PADSWRAP. The best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code PADSWRAP. Get a 100% deposit match up to $100. All right. Fun Sunday night edition of the wrap-up show, kind of. Shohei Ohtani's a Dodger. Not that fun.
That's not fun at all.
Not that fun. All right. For Jim, I'm John. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio at 3 p.m. or on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Peace.